And for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great things for women's basketball. And I'm a fan. Like, I would love to play with her one day, for real.
Cunningham's stance has instantly made her a fan favorite. She's joining a Fever squad that desperately needed toughness and leadership. And she's making it known that if anyone wants to take cheap shots at Clark, they'll have to deal with her first. The Fever didn't just make moves to strengthen their roster. They made moves to fix their culture. And that meant cutting ties with players who weren't fully on board with the new direction.
She goes to the Wings, gets a fresh start.
Indiana is no longer just about development. They're about winning.
Breaking news came down, so we have to discuss it. This is what we do here. We're talking about the Indiana Fever making yet another move, Alicia, because they're Thanos right now and they're collecting all the Infinity Stones.
So Alexa Filippo, hopefully I'm pronouncing her name properly, she is the one who's been breaking all this news. She tweeted 6-time All-Star and WNBA champ Joanna Bonner is signing with the Indiana Fever by re-signing Kelsey Mitchell, trading for Sophie Cunningham, and signing experienced vets Bonner and Natasha Howard. The Fever have catapulted into the title conversation.
Wow, wow, wow. The Indiana Fever have traded Melissa Smith and got Sophie Cunningham in a 3-way trade. And boy, do I want to talk about it.
Sophie Cunningham just did something no one else in the WNBA has dared to do. She publicly defended Caitlin Clark. While many players have taken shots at Clark, Cunningham is standing by her side, calling out the jealousy and criticism Clark has faced.
Hopefully that works out for her. Enrique Agumbawale has already welcomed Melissa Smith there. So that's part of this trade also. So you get these, a lot of moving parts here, because that's something a lot of people had anticipated and thought that the Fever were going to move on from Smith. And when Howard came in, it felt like, okay, Howard is taking her spot. And now Smith is no longer there to have a spot in the starting lineup or off the bench.
Yet, with all this success comes resentment. Some WNBA players believe Clark's fame is undeserved, that she hasn't proven herself yet. But the numbers don't lie. Clark is single-handedly elevating the league in ways no player before her has, and Cunningham understands that. Instead of fighting Clark's impact, she's embracing it. She sees the bigger picture. The WNBA is finally getting the spotlight it deserves, and Clark is the reason why.
Why Indiana Fever fans don't want her on their team. And it's really not that hard to understand, Melissa. Let me tell you why. We don't even need to take into account any of your social media outbursts. We don't need to take into account any of your subtweets. We don't need to take into account any of your drama chasing antics off the court. We don't need to take into account your passive aggressive ways. You're removing the Indiana Fever one day in your bio, adding them in the next day in your bio, tweeting other people's tweets. We don't even need to take into account all the unnecessary drama and garbage that you add to this team when it comes off the court. All we really need to do is sit back and watch you on the court. It's really not that hard of a concept to grasp.
Cunningham's stance has instantly made her a fan favorite. While other players in the league throw shade, Cunningham has chosen to rally behind Clark, positioning herself as Clark's enforcer both on and off the court. This stark contrast between Cunningham and other WNBA players has only fueled the growing divide between Clark's supporters and her critics. But Cunningham's backing isn't just about words, it's about action. She's not just supporting Clark, she's defending her against critics, making it clear that much of the negativity surrounding Clark is rooted in jealousy.
Why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? And do you
Oh my God.
do you hate Caitlin Clark? Come on, talk
dude.
to me.
Absolutely not. I think that she's a gem. I didn't know her, but All-Star Weekend, we kind of bantered back and forth a little bit. And she's lovely.
The viral All-Star moment where Cunningham jokingly told Clark to join Phoenix now has a new twist, because instead of playing against her, Cunningham is now her fiercest ally. Fans are already hyped to see how this dynamic plays out. And make no mistake, Cunningham and Clark are ready to fight back against the league's hostility. Together, they're setting the tone for a new era in Indiana basketball. Clark is no longer just a talented rookie on a rebuilding team. She's the centerpiece of a rising WNBA powerhouse. What was once a struggling franchise has now turned into a legitimate playoff threat.
Amazing for women's sports in general. You have so many people, so many new and fresh eyes on our sport that maybe they're a little uneducated and maybe they kind of stir the pot a little bit. And so I get that, but for that class to come in, you have her.
Rebecca Lobo and other ESPN analysts have already pointed out how much stronger the Fever's roster looks compared to last season.
I think they're one piece away. I think they're one piece away from being a title contender. I think adding Natasha Howard puts them potentially in the top 4. Now, if they could sign, say, Nneka Ogwumike or Satu Sabali or even DeWanna Bonner, I would put them in the championship conversation. But they haven't done that. But they have certainly improved by signing Howard.
Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player. She's a phenomenon. Her arrival has changed the WNBA in ways that go beyond the court. Attendance is up. TV ratings are through the roof. Merchandise sales have hit record highs, and all of it is directly tied to Clark's presence in the league. Reports indicate that Clark alone is responsible for 25% of all WNBA revenue this season. That's not just impact, that's dominance. It was a message. Throughout Clark's rookie season, Smith's interactions with her were noticeably strained. Whether it was a lack of enthusiasm or outright resistance to Clark's leadership, something wasn't working, and the Fever knew they had to act. The same goes for Dijonai Carrington, whose involvement in past tensions further signaled a divide that Indiana no longer wanted.
Ow!